Pleased to be joined by the man behind the Chris Jericho Cruise. Go to chrisjerichocruise.com to get your cabin. Also the host of Talk is Jericho on the Westwood One Podcast Network. And the lead singer for Fozzy. Go to FozzyRock.com to find out tour dates. They're in St. Louis tonight. And, of course, your IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the one, the only, Chris Jericho. Chris, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate it. Bubba didn't call me beforehand last week to remind me that I was supposed to do your show. I'm a busy guy. I got a lot of stuff going on, and Bubba really dropped the ball last week. So I appreciate you giving me the icky this morning, LaGreca, for me to be here.
Dave, isn't it funny? Like, I come on the air and throw you right under the bus, and then he comes on the air and he throws me right under the bus, and then he puts the bus in reverse and backs it up over me.
Well, get your buzz button ready. That's a Vince McMahon expression. Well, Chris, shit rolls downhill.
Well, Chris, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the show this morning or if you've been watching social media at all with this show, but you do understand that Bully has a bounty on my head and is trying to get me killed on your cruise.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen on this thing because I got you got a bounty on your head. I got about 10 guys that want to beat up Disco Inferno on the boat. I got ECW Originals, I'm not going to say the name, you can guess who, volunteering to jump off the side of the boat. I don't know what's going to happen on this thing, but it's going to be fun just to sit back and watch. But you better watch out, LaGreca, because wrestling fans, they're going to need some money on this cruise for all the drinking they're going to be doing. So they might come after you in the middle of the night.
Hey, it's great. Honestly, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I see so many people talking about it on social media. It's obviously going to be a great time. And as far as I know, the cruise is selling really, really well, and there's only a couple of cabins left, right?
Yeah, like we legitimately are less than 75 cabins left, which, there's over 1,000 cabins on board. So we're getting closer to the sellout, which to me, at this point, we're already a success because it's a first-year excursion. And, we're working, and you'll appreciate this, Bubba, we're working with a company that does the Kiss Cruise, the Walking Dead Cruise, the Kid Rock Cruise. I mean, this is the top-level kind of WWE of cruise promotions, and they're very, very happy with what we're doing because they didn't quite understand the whole concept because this has never been done before. Going into Lars Ulrich, something's never been done before, and the fact that we're doing the live matches on the ship, and I've said this before in the show, but I had to have a team of engineers come on board to make sure that the ring could be sequestered and secured to the deck, and all these sort of things, and just even the selling pattern of the cruise, it's been nonstop since we went on sale, almost a year ago now, actually a year ago. And the people, the promoters were like, we've never had this. Usually it sells out right away, or it sells what it's going to sell in the first 4 or 5 months, and then it's pretty much done. And you're not going to get any sales in the last 10 weeks. And meanwhile, here we are still selling, 2 cabins, 3 cabins a day, whatever it may be, as we continue to build upon the lineup and continue to add a buzz to this whole thing. They didn't understand the whole promotional aspect of what I bring to the table, what you would bring to the table, Bubba. When you work for Vince and you work for the WWE, you understand that it's all about the promotion, and that promotion goes to the day of the show, and that's kind of what I'm building it on, and it's been working so far.
Are you going to have a moment, on this cruise? And, listen, you put your heart and soul into this. You put your heart and soul into everything, and you got your hand in so many different things. Are you going to have some time to kind of enjoy it, and enjoy what you've been able to do with this cruise?
This is one of those things. It's like when you have a wedding, and I know you understand, because you've been married 6 times. But when you have a wedding, you're basically putting it on for everybody else. And it's after the wedding is done, you're like, I hope everyone had a good time because I don't even really remember what happened. And that's kind of what it's going to be for me. Fozzy's playing 3 shows. We're doing 3 separate set lists. I got a Words of Jericho one-man show that I do. Of course, we're doing Alpha Club versus Bullet Club, me and the Young Bucks, the Bucks of Jericho, or is it Y2 Jackson versus Kenny Omega, Cody, and Marty Skrull. I'm marrying somebody. I've got 3 live Talk is Jerichos. Actually, it might even be 4. One with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which I've been working on for a long time. Very excited about that. Live Talk is Jericho with Conan and Rey Mysterio, remembering Eddie Guerrero. Live Talk is Jericho with the entire Bullet Club, and a Live Talk is Jericho with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. So you can see I've got a lot of stuff to deal with. Plus, my family will be there. My dad will be there. My cousins will be there. So I think at the end of it, I'm going to need a cruise just from this cruise.
I mean, it's completely loaded up. Is there anything else that you could possibly add that would put it over the top? I know you said it's a success already, and I totally agree. But is that one idea out there that you think that if you could announce this, you could get those extra 75 cabins to sell?
You know, somebody asked me today, like, is there going to be more surprises? Anybody else to announce? I'm like, well, who else is there? I mean, it's pretty much everybody that's not under contract to WWE is on this thing. And, you know, then Don Callis approached me about doing Impact versus Ring of Honor, which Ring of Honor was into. So we have another Impact versus Ring of Honor, a huge match to announce, which is almost kind of the semi-main event of the show. And if you've been following along on my Instagram, you kind of might know what it is, but it's going to be a big match between them. And then just other little things here and there. Like I saw that the Young Bucks' dad, he's a singer-songwriter, and I saw he was playing it All In. So I just called Matt and Nick the other day. I was like, does your dad want to come on the cruise? I was like, yeah, he wants to come. So I was like, I'll give Papa Buck a cabin, and I'll just advertise he's going to be playing. Now, that's not going to sell any extra cabins, but it just makes the whole experience even more fun. It's a once-in-a-lifetime making history type of event where I'm just trying to stuff it as much as I can with as much cool stuff as I would want to see, from the matches to the bands. I mean, Corey Taylor's going to be playing, and Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons, who are so great. I mean, obviously, Phil was Motorhead's guitar player for 35 years. He's in a band now with his kids. They're awesome. You know, I got an AC/DC tribute band with their girls, which I thought was really cool. They're called Shoot the Thrill. I got an Ozzy tribute band. I know you just went and saw Ozzy the other night. I got comedians, and the Impractical Jokers are going to be there. Just anybody that was reaching out that wanted to be involved. Ron Funches, Brad Williams, Craig Gass. I put them on the show just to kind of make it just a total extravaganza from the moment you get on the boat to the moment you get off. There's just so much stuff to do. And once again, like I do for a lot of my things, I got the idea directly from KISS. When we did the KISS cruise 3 years ago, I just couldn't believe how many activities there were. So I think at this point, it's just the whole experience that's going to be the final seller, where people are like, I can't ignore this anymore. I have to go. And like I've been saying, you know, people say, well, some people say, well, it's very expensive or I can't afford it. It's really not that expensive for a cruise. And not to mention that everything is all included. Like, you get a cabin, you get to see everything and meet and greets and pictures. It's not like a wrestling convention where you pay your ticket to get in, and then if you want a picture with Bubba, you got to pay, you know, $50. Or if you want a picture with McGregor, you got to pay an extra $350, whatever it may be. This is all inclusive, you know, so it's very, very cool. And I think once people understand that, I think next year when we do this and the year after that, it's going to be an instant sellout just because of how cool the whole experience and the whole vibe of the entire week is going to be.
And, you know, I know there's going to be a lot of Nation members that are going to be on the cruise, but if you haven't booked it yet, go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com right now and book your cabin. Like Chris just said, there's less than 75 cabins left, so definitely jump on that. And Chris, I wanted to ask you, we're just over a week and a half from All In, and of course, what happened with All In with you. I mean, what was that experience like? And you completely shocked everybody, especially since you had a gig that night with Fozzy.
Well, that just shows kind of how last minute the whole thing was, because when All In was first announced, we already had a show booked in Kansas City that night. I think our tour got announced maybe 2 or 3 months ago. It was right around the same time that All In was announced, very, very close. I had no interest in working for All In because I just didn't feel that I really wanted to do anything in the States. You know, I just the New Japan thing was cool, but I felt the work in the States was kind of crossing maybe a little bit of a line. But then as we got closer to it, Cody kept calling me and asking me. I had a couple different suggestions and ideas, and it didn't really fit for me. And then once we kind of thought of this idea with Kenny, I thought, well, it's a perfect way to kind of continue this angle, and for the cruise and for elsewhere. I mean, a lot of people say that, Alpha versus Omega, Jericho versus Omega, the Tokyo Dome is one of the best matches of the year, or whatever you want to say, but it did make a big splash. I think in a lot of ways it enabled New Japan to get into Madison Square Garden, because suddenly there's a lot of focus on New Japan from people that didn't know much about it before Jericho versus Omega, people that checked it out because of that match and really enjoyed what they liked. And suddenly the name value of New Japan goes through the roof. So I wanted to kind of continue the whole Kenny Jericho angle. Obviously, it's good to continue with the cruise, but also just to do something very cool and very memorable that people didn't expect. And that's kind of what I've been doing over the last couple of years, is just surprising people and shocking people that are into Chris Jericho and into wrestling and all that other stuff. So once we came up with the idea, and then logistically to figure out, because originally I was trying to think how we could do it earlier in the day, the Fozzy show, and then go to All In after, but it just wouldn't work out. But due to the fact it was Central Time Zone, we could finish it up by 9 o'clock, 9:30, and move the Kansas City Fozzy show back as long as I could get there. And that's when we started thinking about having like a private jet and figuring out the logistics of that. And then once we kind of put our mind to it, and Fozzy's manager, Mark Willis, kind of told the guy in Kansas City, we're going on at midnight. Why? Don't worry about it. Just go with it. Which, of course, the promoter likes, because then he can sell more alcohol because the bar stays open later. So it just kind of one of those things that just worked out all across the board. And the funny thing is, in WrestleMania, there was talk of me doing the same thing for that show, replacing Shane McMahon when Shane was sick. And I got a call to see if we could do the Fozzy show first in New Hampshire, take a private jet to New Orleans, and then do Jericho and Daniel Bryan versus Owens and Zayn. And then Shane, because he's a McMahon and he's completely off his rocker, came back and worked with, one arm and one leg and one testicle, whatever the hell it was that he had wrong with him. And so that didn't work out, but this was kind of the next step to that. And it was really exciting for me, a total crazy whirlwind day, but then kind of the legend and the story, it kind of lives on forever. The night that Jericho, appeared at All In, and then, ended up in Kansas City an hour and a half later and did a Fozzy show. So it was really a cool moment for sure.
When did you come up with the idea to dress up like Pentagon?
Well, actually, my idea was just to have the lights out, lights on. I'm in the ring, I attack him, and then it was actually Nick Jackson that had the idea, why don't you try to dress up like Pentagon? So, and I thought that was really a great idea. And I told the story in its entirety on Talk is Jericho this week about how I went to, with Jack Slade. You met Jack Slade, the drummer, Chris Slade of AC/DC's son, who's kind of our stage manager, and he kind of deals with all things Jericho on the road when we're with Fozzy. And he came with me to Chicago just in case, because you never know. And lo and behold, there was one fan in the airport at 5:30 that I don't know how the hell he knew I was there, or it was a total coincidence, started taking pictures of me. And then Jack chased him down and had the guy delete all the pictures off his phone. So there would be no spoilers. And then when we get to the arena in Chicago, Pentagon is there he was told to bring 2 outfits, and brought 2 different colored outfits. And it's like, didn't anybody tell him to bring 2 of the same outfits? And it's like, well, no, we didn't tell him that. It's like, well, the whole concept is that I'm dressing up as Pentagon to fool everybody, right? So he's got a gold outfit and a gray outfit. And we got there, our flight was delayed, and there was a really bad rainstorm. So we walked into the Sears Center at about 7 p.m., and I was scheduled to go out there around 9. So, coming from the school that we come from, as Bubba will tell you, you turn a negative into a positive, and you fix the problem. The problem is I had 2 different colored costumes. Jack, you need to go find a hardware store and find some gold paint now. So Jack went and found a Home Depot that was about 15 minutes away and got a ride there and found some gray spray. The original idea was to find some gold Sharpies. All he found was gold spray paint, bring it back, and then we start spraying the damn costume with gold spray paint.
Wow.
And not taking care to worry if it gets gold flecks on the other part of the costume. It's like, let's just spray this effing thing down because we don't have any time. Because now it's past 8 o'clock. Thankfully, it was fast-drying spray paint because we couldn't find any hair dryers or blow dryers in the place. So we hung them up in the shower, and Jack and I took 2 Cody's Reynolds American Nightmare sweatsuits. We found a couple in the dresser, and we were fanning them like you would like an Egyptian god with palm fronds, trying to get this damn spray paint dry. The spray paint dries, so now that it dries, it's like, let's just spray every part of the costume, because originally I was just going to spray the front of the chest plate because I was worried that the whole costume would be super wet. Whole thing dried. I put the thing on 8:30. Go to the ring at 8:45 and create this moment. But like I said, like if people only knew the real things that happen behind the scenes for us to put on a show for you, it would blow your mind. And there we were, like I said, 2 completely different colored costumes. And thank the Lord there was a hardware store with quick drying gold spray paint available for sale.
That's awesome.
The wrestling gods were on your side that night, that's for sure.
Well, they really were, and it was funny because Matt and Nick were like, well, no one's going to notice. I'm like, they're going to notice. One is gold, one is gray. They're going to notice.
And see, that's like the difference. As successful as guys like Matt and Nick are, and props to them, they don't get not that they don't get, but it's that next level type stuff of pulling off a shocking surprise where you want everything to be perfect so every single person in the arena is shocked. Because even if you miss one person, you didn't get the job done, you want them all to gasp at the same time. You want them all to react. And that's what keeps a person like you special and unique, because you know how to pull off a surprise the right way.
Well, and you just said it too, as far as even running a show of that magnitude. I mean, they did an amazing job. But there was little things that coming from, I go back to it, but you'll get it, Bubba. Working for Vince and for the WWE for 18 years, so many little things fell through the cracks, and it would be easy to avoid next time if I was in the production meeting or whatever it would be. Even the fact that the main event had to go so short. Well, the reason why is they gave the undercard way too much time. You always undercut the undercard, knowing that the guys are going to go over. If you want them to do 12, you give them 10, not 15. And, the little things like that you make sure that you have more time for the main event, because, the main event is the moneymaker. And you don't need to see Matt Cross versus MJF go 15 minutes or whatever it was, or Stephen Amell versus, Chris Daniels go 15 minutes. No matter what each individual's ego is, it's like when you go to WrestleMania, if you're not in the last 3 matches, you might only get 8 minutes. And everybody wants to go steal the show at WrestleMania. And if it was kind of a community-run show like All In was, those guys would just ignore their time keys and no longer. That's not the way it works. So just all of these things are little lessons that if and when, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of whens, will one more show, or the next show after that, they're gonna learn a little bit more about these little things that you don't realize when you're putting on your first major sold out 11,000 capacity seat show, which is still unbelievable that they were able to even get that going in the first place.
It's unbelievable. And Chris, Mark and I were on Talk is Jericho, and we talked about Madison Square Garden. And at the time when we taped that episode, we didn't think that there would be any company going to Madison Square Garden. But here we are in April, New Japan and Ring of Honor. What's your thoughts on that show? And is there any chance, especially after your appearance at All In, that you could be at the Garden that night in April?
That was a great show, by the way, Bubba. You probably would like that when we talked about it, and Dave talked about it as being a fan. But yeah, you're right. We didn't know at the time that there was going to be that show, and I mean, once again, it sells out like in 30 minutes or whatever, and there is a whole market now for hardcore wrestling fans, and maybe not even hardcore anymore. There's a whole strain of fans of wrestling that are excited about all of these other options. I mean, I didn't think there was any chance of me doing All In, but at this point in time, sure, there's a chance. I mean, if there's a match that's presented to me that's interesting, and if I'm free, like, why not? Like, I'm really kind of enjoying this free agency and realizing, why do I have to just keep it in Japan? What if I do want to do more stuff in the States? And, not really worrying about what anybody thinks. At this point in time, I think for the first time in my career, in 28 years, October 2nd will be 28 years, I'm kind of completely in control, and it's fun. I really enjoy, not having to run my ideas that I know are going to work through a committee of 2 or 3 people, or having to wait, 3 hours in front of a door to go pitch it to one guy and hope that he likes it. At this point in time, we're all pros and we know what works and what doesn't work. And if we're not sure, we can ask other guys and kind of work together. But, in WWE, when you work there, once again, what's Pat Patterson's favorite saying, Bubba? Sometimes it's chocolate, sometimes it's vanilla, but it's his ice cream store. So you got to go with whatever it is that he wants to go with. And, that's fine. And when you work for Vince, that's just the way it is. But it's fun to not work for Vince right now and have some of these other ideas that you can kind of explore and have fun with, and not have to second guess or go through the ringer of everybody's opinions in a room where they're having a production meeting. They're not even in it, and coming out of the room and telling you what you're going to do and having to argue. It's very mentally taxing when you work for WWE, which is fine. If you're working there, get ready for it and deal with it. But right now it's fun not having to deal with that. So we'll have to see. I mean, nobody's called me either way to work there or not work there. We're on tour with Fozzy until mid-December, and that's the end of the Judas Rising tour. And then, we go back to songwriting and go back to recording. And in that time frame is usually when I go back into the WWE. But this time, maybe there's other places I'll go back to other than WWE. It just depends on what kind of is the best idea and the best creative thoughts, and I guess the best offer, if you want to get right down to it.
So just taking your relationship with Vince into account, if you did work the Garden show, will he be pissed off, or will he have that shit-eating grin on his face that he gets when he sees one of the guys being able to go out there and do things and kind of slip through his grip a little bit, which he kind of appreciates in a way?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a little bit of both. And I think, once again, at this stage of the game and what I've done over the last year, I mean, I think there would be a little bit of both, kind of going out and making your own way and making a little bit of a difference. Like I said, when we did the Omega Jericho match, the New Japan World subscriptions went up 60% in North America. And that's pretty good, and it was the highest rated show on Access TV. Now, keep in mind, Access TV, what do we do? Maybe 500,000 people? It's nothing compared to Raw or SmackDown, but it's bigger than any other show. And Vince considers that competition because, who runs Access TV? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's a billionaire. He's got money. And anybody that has money is a red flag for danger, because it's happened to Vince before. He was, running the business until Ted Turner got involved, and then suddenly there's another player on the block. Vince doesn't want that. And I think, if you're talking about the Garden show, well, who's going to be on the Garden show? We don't know. But I think as many of those guys that he can kind of snap up just to take them out of contention for the Garden show, I would assume that he's probably going to be trying to do that. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I do know that, it's a different game now. There's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of money from television and from other countries and that sort of thing. And, I have to start thinking that at this stage in the game, I'm just as valuable to the WWE as Brock Lesnar is. Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that I can do that not a lot of people can do, and you have to start thinking that way.
Okay, that Chris Jericho. Again, go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com. Just a couple of cabins left. Chris, absolute pleasure having you on the show today, my friend.
I got the old. You give me the hook?
Well, because we're up against it. We're going to break in 10 seconds.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Always good to talk to you, and look, I knew your video, please.